But thank you for everybody coming out. Give yourself a round of applause for coming out. Beautiful day in the state of Maryland. I think the high is 61. I don't know how we get it, but we get some great weather in this state. That's one of the reasons why I love it. But I want to start by thanking our board members in the Sheridan Baltimore North for hosting us again. They do a wonderful job every time. We could not do any of this without them. We do have some corporate sponsors we want to thank also. They do a great job of supporting us throughout the year. We have the Baltimore County Public Library, the Community College of Baltimore County, BGE, the Port of Baltimore, Sheridan Baltimore North, Peak Performance Accounting, T. Rowe Price, McCormick and Company, UMBC, Comcast, and Blue Cross Blue Shield. Please give them a round of applause. Corporate sponsors are the backbone of our chamber. They really do a great job of really supporting us throughout the year, especially during the pandemic. Those corporate checks were definitely needed, and they did not stop. So we definitely appreciate the corporate part of our membership here supporting us. We have some new members, and we have some member renewals. So I always want to thank our members for continuing to support us, as well as our new members that are joining our chamber. So we have Meridian Bank, the Redeemed Christian Church of God Higher Ground Assembly, as well as Planet Fitness Dundalk, as some of our new members in the last 2 weeks. But we have some renewing members that have stayed on with us and that have chosen to continue to support the chamber. So we'll definitely give a shout out to them. Oak Lawn Cemetery, Cooper's North, North American Millwright, Baltimore County Golf, Kelly Benefits, Brothers Services, the Salvation Army of Central Maryland, Nova Tech Automation, Baltimore County Employees Federal Credit Union, Owens Brothers Contracting. Please give them a round of applause. We need that continued support from our chamber members, so we definitely want to continue to shout them out from there. One of our event sponsors today is going to be CCBC, the Community College of Baltimore County. They do a great job of continuing to support as well as educate the workforce of Baltimore County. It is a needed entity, so definitely support that organization. And we have a dynamic speaker here leading one of the most important organizations here in Baltimore County, the Baltimore County Public School System, Dr. Daryl Williams.
Side. Just click forward. Got it. So good morning, everyone. Good morning. First, let me thank you all for inviting me back, because sometimes it's always a test to see, are they going to invite me back? I was here before. I do want to acknowledge the BCPS staff that are seated here. Would you please stand? Come on, staff, stand. So I thank you all. I want to acknowledge them because this year is like no other year. So they are carrying, look, I heard some comments in the back. I do want to acknowledge that. Next, I want to, because this work is completely different. Folks think we open school and we're back to normal. We are not back to normal. So that means all the things we've done for years. I have 33 years of experience, never seen anything like this. And so we have to be flexible, creative, and we have to work with each other to figure out how to meet the needs. And we're doing things differently. So the next group I would like to acknowledge are parents that are seated in the room. Please stand. Parents, guardians, grandparents, uncles. Okay. I want to acknowledge you all because last year you had the big chunk of the system on your shoulders. And we really want to thank you for all that you've done for our students and for your students. And then two, I know there's a graduate in the room, but I want to ask the BCPS graduates, you don't have to tell which year because I don't want to put your business out like that. Just stand, please. There, we have one, we have two, we have three. Come on, be proud. Yes, so good things do happen in Baltimore County Public Schools. And so I wanted to acknowledge our graduates. And again, I won't put your business out there in which year you graduated. It was probably just last year or year before. But I also want to thank this partnership. When I first came, I did 10 community conversations in the community just to get the feedback. Some days, and they were back to back, I remember one session I was extremely sick, and I probably should not have done the community community conversation, but I was just that committed. Almost passed out when I got home afterwards, but the feedback was important. And what I'm sensing and what I see and what I saw last year, our success is based on partnerships. We can't do the work by ourselves. And as you notice, this past year, last year, we had to really rely on our health experts to guide us. And that wasn't popular, but I didn't go to school to be a medical doctor or nurse. I went to school to be an educator. And so we had to rely on our experts. So this morning, I'm gonna just do a brief overview, and I want to leave some time for some questions. I'm sure it will come from a variety of stakeholders, whether business leader, staff member, parent. But I wanted to give the context that in my 33 years, 6 years in DC public schools, 25 years in Montgomery County public schools, I've never seen the last 2 years ever in my career. There was no playbook, there was no course, and it was on-the-job training and making decisions based on information that we had. And so I was telling the group at the table here, I have deleted all of my Facebook accounts. Social media is not my friend. I still have a Twitter page, and sometimes that's a little scary and what folks put out there. Because sometimes we hear from people who are not in our system. You know, I'd rather hear from people who are in our system than somebody from some other state who has no ties to Baltimore County Public Schools. And so I thank you all for the invitation, and I'm gonna try to do this and be brief. I wanna just share some information. So today I just wanna provide a little bit of our priorities for this year. I also wanna talk about some areas that we really are focusing on, and then have an opportunity to talk about ways to partner. We always feel that we don't have all the answers, but the goal today is to try to hit all three, and of course leave some room for some Q&A. But I want to talk a bit about who we are. For the last 20 years, Baltimore County Public Schools has changed its demographics. Back in the early 70s, it was predominantly white. Now we are 60% minority. That is to celebrate. We have over 103 spoken languages. We have students who can be transient or mobile. They move from school to school, sometimes school system to school system. But that just speaks to the diversity. And for those who've been around like me for 30 plus years, what I used to do when I first started teaching, I can't do now. The pedagogy, the way in which I instruct, the way in which I plan, the way in which I organize must be different. Our students are coming to us with needs. And that was pre-pandemic. Let me say that again. They were coming to us with needs pre-pandemic. Now with the pandemic of 18 months where students were online, some students we couldn't even find because parents had to up and leave and go to another place to work or to live. We have some rebuilding to do. We have some rebuilding to do. And so I tell the staff all the time, give yourself some grace. You're coming back into the building. You want to start day one what you did for years, but are the students ready to receive that learning? We have actually increased our food and nutrition services that we're offering it for many of our students free because there's a need out there. And working with our Ed Foundation, looking at supplies, not only for staff, but also for our students, there are great needs. But there's also things to celebrate. You saw graduates in the room, right? We do produce a great graduation rate. Last year we had 89%. We're hovering around 89%. I like 89%. I like 90 even better. And what we're doing is drilling down as to why our students aren't finishing in a 4-year schedule or a 5-year plan. What are those barriers? A lot of it is our students sometimes move from place to place. Sometimes the skills, we have to build skills. And so what I want to walk you through is kind of our focus. And in doing that, June of 2020, we redesigned our compass, our blueprint, our strategic plan. And if you think about it, June of 2020 was at the very beginning of the pandemic. But as business leaders, without a vision, you don't know where you're going to go, right? So we had to have a vision about what we wanted to focus on as a system. We had a strategic plan. When I came in 2019, it was already outdated. And I said, well, we have to update our strategic plan. So we did a lot of data, analysis, we talked to students, we talked to staff, 5 focus areas. The very first one is really where I push, is learning, accountability, and results. So if you just think about that title, learning, accountability, and results, that means everybody associated with BCPS should see themselves in that first focus area. Our students have to learn, we all are accountable, and what are the results? The second one is really focused on the safe and supportive environment. Years past, it was safe and supportive classes, but environments could be in the workspace, on the school bus. So we had to expand that based on feedback. Safe and supportive environment, not only for our students, but also for our staff. The third one is where we're going to talk a little bit today, is the higher performing workforce. And so there's this national shortage of staff members. So if you want to get your teaching certification, we can have a conversation later. There's plenty of room, but there is a national shortage. National shortage. We are working hard to change the image of teachers. Sometimes our own teachers are not the best cheerleaders of the profession. I have to put it out there. We're trying to change that image. We're trying to change who we're hiring. Maryland does not produce the number of candidates or eligible teachers for all the vacancies in the state of Maryland. So we have to go outside of the state of Maryland. And we are competing with every other system. And so that's why you'll hear a little bit about recruitment efforts, retention efforts, looking at our historically black colleges and universities, going overseas to get folks who are bilingual. We are really trying to diversify our staff. That's not only in the classroom, in offices, and running our schools. The fourth one is community engagement and partnerships, just expanding what we can do to strengthen that. We can't do the work by ourselves. And the last one is the operational excellence. It's everything that we do. There should be a standard in what we do as a system of how we work with each other, how we communicate with each other. And so the operational excellence is our 5th focus area. So this is our new strategic plan. I don't know the last time I was here if we have actually finalized it, but this is what we finalized in 2020, and everything we do has to be associated with our strategic plan. So moving forward, what a school year. What a school year. What a school year. I visited, of the 176 schools, I probably visited 150 schools in person. We have a new school that's being built, so I can't actually visit that. But I've been in the schools. I've been in the schools. This is a year of healing. Our students need better relationships. Our staff members are healing. I'm not fooled when I see everybody at work that everybody is not okay. We actually extended our employee assistance program. And some might think of that as a negative connotation. But it's there, certified folks, which people can reach out and kind of work through some issues. Our staff members need that. We've increased our counselors and social workers, and some of that will be in my budget for this coming fiscal year, because our students need other folks to talk to. And sometimes they just don't get that at home. So we are recovering, we are healing and rebuilding. And the other part, last year will be a remarkable year for all of us in BCPS. Not only did we have to deal with a pandemic, in the midst of the pandemic, around November, right before Thanksgiving break, we had a cyber attack. We've worked hard never to have that happen again. And so I must thank the board for the work and approval to move contracts forward. But when we say we had a difficult year, we had a difficult year. Yet in May and June, we graduated over 12,000 seniors at Towson, the CQ Arena, and I tell you, I saw nothing but tears because we needed that. We needed that to say, in spite of all that has happened, our kids persevered. Our kids got into college, or they got into that business, or they got into that 2-year program, or they got into the military. And so we are still a part of this. And as you can see, it's circular because it's not linear. Whenever you're dealing with healing and recovery, sometimes you have setbacks. And what I like to say, and I say it often, I take the little wins, and I don't know if you can see the picture. I love this picture. I visited Pikesville High School. They had their mascot out there. They had some students that were cheering, and we just had to take a picture. And that's a student under there. He was so glad to take that mask off after 5 minutes. But that's what I do. I go to schools, I talk to our staff, I talk to our students. I want to hear from them. But I want to just echo, this is circular because we're not quite there yet. And the pandemic, we're still in the pandemic, and we're still working through. So let me just go through some priorities. Said to the staff, let's just narrow down our focus this year. We got a lot going on. But the very first part, we need to really focus on our own social emotional wellness. And I described a little bit about that. And then we talked about, well, what do we need for our students? Focus on the standards within your instruction. I know staff, you've done these creative projects. Just stick to the standard and accelerate that learning. If a student needs remediation, give it to him or her right there on the spot and continue to focus on the standard. Stick at the rigorous standpoint, but scaffold, build up, give them support. The last part is, because of the cyber attack, we had to really look at our resources and data, and so we increased our data literacy among our adults. We have a new platform where we can get on-time data for our students and not lagging data. That's what we've had for years, lagging data. We will get results 2 months later. What do we do with those results? Now it's on time. So if a staff member gives one of our curriculum-based assessment, in a week or so, we'll have the data. You can see how the students are meeting the standard. Then you can always scaffold or reteach and reassess. And the last part I talked earlier is about the standard of excellence. Everything we do must be a standard of excellence. So this fall, we opened up 5 days a week. We definitely looked at our professional learning for our staff, and we increased our virtual learning options. We've always had e-learning or virtual learning for some students. We expanded. We have over 3,000 students who are part of our virtual learning, and that is from elementary, middle, and high. But we're also seeing a shift. You know, a lot of that was because of COVID and the lack of vaccinations, but we're also seeing more of our families are starting to return back to in-person. We know that in-person learning is the optimal way of learning for many of our kids, but we also noticed there were some students who are actually thriving with virtual learning. I always remember I was visiting a food distribution, and I saw one of our students pick up his lunch, and I walked over to him and I said, "How are you?" He said, "Hi, Dr. Williams." He knew where I was. I said, "So what are you doing?" "Well, I'm getting my lunch. I'm about to go back online." He said, "You know, I like this online learning." I said, "Let me guess. You're middle school?" "Yes, sir." "How did you know?" I said, "Yeah, middle school is just an animal that no one can't seem to figure it out, right?" We're working on that, but he felt success. And I can't say that for everybody, but he found success in the work that was happening with the virtual learning. And the mitigation strategies to work with our schools and work with our businesses to make sure we had all of the PPEs, all those mitigation strategies. And then when we talk to our staff about vaccinations, we had to make a decision. You know, we want you to be vaccinated. So fortunately, we heard back from about 98% of our staff, and of them, we were at 90% of the staff that got their vaccines. And then the others, as they started to do the weekly testing, I don't know if anybody has done the weekly testing. My wife's a nurse, and so that experience one time would have said to me, I'll just go and get the vaccine, just. And so we're working with our students, our high school students and middle school students really stepped up to get the vaccines. Thank you, families. And we're working with our younger students as well as we continue to provide those opportunities by opening up more clinics in our county. And so it's been great working with Dr. Branch and his team and our health services, Deb Somerville. They have been incredible partners in this work. But I want to just focus, this is a little hard to see, but I always like to ground this in some research. So if we take a look at this graph, the student growth and progress, you'll note that the continuing impact. So some students have experienced loss with no instruction, which is the bottom light blue. And others had a learning slowdown due to the quality of learning, whether it had nothing to do with school. As I talked about, some family situations, folks had to move, parents had to find jobs. But what this is saying that it's gonna take us a good 2 years to recover instructionally. It's gonna take that long. Which means why we said focus on the standards, staff. Because if you focus on the standards and continue to build, we're going to build those resources. So we've opened up our summer programs, we've opened up extended day, we even had Saturday school. We was just on the call yesterday with our GT parent advisory about more things we can do online for advanced placement. And so we're expanding these opportunities because we know it's going to take some time for our students. A big piece of this is the trauma. They're not ready to learn. We can do all we want to plan and offer these courses, but that trauma is still existing. And what was eye-opening for me as the superintendent, the trauma with our staff. Because our staff members had to deal with family, their own students, older family members, and so it's going to take a while. It's going to take a while. But we're committed to stay focused, and one of the areas that we are always focusing on is the teaching and learning. So we're going to look at the social emotional well-being, but we're going to really focus on the teaching and learning. So the phrase is do now and build towards the future. And so that's why we're saying to staff, you have to communicate with each other. We're talking about articulation within the building, third grade teachers talking together, then talking to the fourth grade. We're talking about the articulation from elementary to middle to high, even from high to the colleges. I love Dr. K from CCBC. But in talking to her, I had to say, you know, our students may not have that assessment to get into your program. Our student may not have the resources, and they work out many supports for our kids just to do that because they're seeing an impact that some families say, I can't send you to college right now, you have to work. And so the enrollment in many of our universities are not growing because of the pandemic. And so that partnership is very key. And I think it was important that we really talk about the teaching and learning, but it really boils down to relationships, the relationships. Our kids want to know that you know me, and you care for me. So we do this little thing called a gift of time, where central office staff members will volunteer in schools, because we have vacancies. We have vacancies. So, you know, as a good leader, what do you think I said? I'm gonna go out there and volunteer. Because if I can find the time in my busy schedule everybody else can find the time in their schedule. So I've been out in the middle schools. I don't know why I picked middle schools, but I picked middle schools. And the students saw me. I won't name the 2 middle schools I've been so far. I got another one next week. And they want to be heard, and they want to be cared for. In some cases, they may not get that at home. They come to school, and sometimes the behavior may be because of something that's missing. And I won't tell you how many students wanted to talk and sit down. I was like, you got to get to class. But this is the work that we're doing for our staff. The gift of time to say, we know you're working hard. The other gift of time was that thanks to the board and thanks to my team, we gave everybody off that Wednesday, right before Thanksgiving break. Now, I didn't, look, the staff's like, yay! Believe it or not, I needed that break too. And so you just don't know how much, you know how you're working, and you just don't know how much you're really, you're grinding, you're doing the hard work, and then when you just get a time to just sit back and rest. That's where we are. That's where we are. And we have some other opportunities, and our students need it too. Our students need it too. Now, parents, I know we're sending them back to you on those days, but everyone just sometimes need a mental break. Just rest. So this is a part where we're excited about our CTE programs, and we're so fortunate to continue to expand. And my friend back there, we had a food trailer at Solars Point, and it was like the first, and you know, I tweeted that, and they were like, "Where are you serious? The school system has like a food truck?" Absolutely. And it started from a student with some ideas, and the staff latched in and made it happen. Now, it took about 4 or 5 years, yeah, to actually happen, but that's what we are about. So this is where we are with our CTE program. So I just want to give you some data. 22% of our high school students completed a high school level of a registered apprenticeship or industry recognized occupational credential. 22%. So the state says, okay, Baltimore County, your goal is 45%. Not a problem. How long do we have? 2031. So we got some time to get there. But our students are interested in these programs. So we're going to continue to build. But check out this number. 17,843 students took CTE courses. That's about 51% of our high school students, largest in the state. So the interest is there. We got to get them to complete the program and get that licensure. And so this map kind of shows the demographics and where it's spread out. But just the other day, we're talking about how to expand our CTE programs. And we would love to work together as a group to see what might we do. And I have a very, I have an interest in looking at the 3 different zones. So we have our central zone, we have our east zone, and then we have our west zone. So I want to look at just what we can do to bring some equity within our 3 zones and the course offerings. And so we have a new director, Michael Grubbs. Doug Handy used to be the director. He's now the director of equity initiatives. And so we're still committed because it matters to us. Because this goes back to the strategic plan, college and career ready. Just because you're taking a CTE program, does that mean you can't go to college? And that's that partnership with our local universities. And I really love Dr. Kay Kurtnitis and the work that she does in that partnership. So now, Brent, how's my time? Okay. I want to make sure I don't talk too long. Now I want to open up for questions or comments. Oh, in the back. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm a dark teacher, videography, and for years, this is not, I mean, I had an education question, but explore something different. Who can we talk to about opening up a bid process to do school photography? There's a company that does a life touch that they do really well photography. And I'm hoping that, I mean, even when you guys did the graduation live stream, that's something I could have did. But they got some guys from Connecticut, they got a company from another state to do it. Instead of looking like we're in the backyard. My son is a product of, he's graduating this year from the lane.
Oh, wonderful.
Some point, you know, because we a piece of that pop. I mean, I was at one school where I actually volunteered to do some Montgomery County School. And I came and did some work for them. They said, wow, you know, thanks for helping us because the Life Touch guy didn't show up. And they paid the Life Touch guy. Having again at the graduation, I was doing a video for graduation. Now I'm going to Baltimore County School. I know you guys use Life Touch also. So I'm starting there. I'm also talking to Baltimore City, you know, get some local people who can use the money. I mean, we have a photographer here, Price Shooting Street, like this school photographer. They pay like 20 grand, 40 grand in a night after you pay everybody.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
instead of paying the local guy, the local photographer, $20 an hour, let them get the cake, let them get the main course.
Sure. So leave us your information. We're happy. I will say now, yeah, let's clap. Yeah, local businesses, absolutely local. But here. Here's the only caveat with that. Sometimes we lock into contracts multiple years. I know. Yeah. And everybody. But I'm just saying, sometimes we're locked into it. And when you talk about graduation, sometimes it's the venue that we have to look at. But just leave the information. Leave your information. Well, we got staff here, so you know, right? Work it out. There was another question. Yes.
Actually, it's not far from his. I have a contract with Baltimore County Schools. I work for Brick Bodies, and
Oh, yeah.
are
Yeah,
honored
yeah.
to be able to continue serving the educators of Baltimore County. We've
Yeah.
been with you guys for years.
Yeah.
We offer a corporate discount to every employee of Baltimore County Public Schools, and since the technology breach last year, we have struggled to effectively communicate with the schools, with the teachers. So we were doing on-site classes, and those obviously stopped for the pandemic. And I know that there's someone, an interim person in the role right now of the wellness coordinator. And we've kind of talked about bringing those classes on, but I would like to be able to, as you said, this has been traumatic for educators, for everybody. It's been a hard couple of years, and I want to be able to do a better job of promoting wellness for Baltimore County Public Schools.
Sure.
Is there
Yeah.
any way that I could?
Absolutely. So I'm going to, seated in the back is the Chief of Staff, Mildred Charlie Green, who's over communication and can easily connect you to the HR. And you're right, we have an interim, but I just forgot her name.
And she's a doll. She's an absolute delight. But last month we offered, we had Baltimore County Public Schools was one of our businesses of the month. And I took 1,000 flyers to her, and we didn't see, somehow there was a gap in that communication because we just didn't see anybody coming in. And
We're going to close up that gap, absolutely. Because as I mentioned about our staff not being well, here's an example or an opportunity for our staff, so absolutely.
those on-site classes, I know it's so hard to get into schools for anything right now because of all of the COVID issues, but those were really well received.
Yeah,
Our
yeah.
instructors absolutely love coming to
Oh, no, that's great.
those classes.
Absolutely. Okay. Yes, sir.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
I run a not-for-profit that provides, runs a food pantry, homeless shelters, rental systems, so forth and called CAN, Community Assistance Network. The other day, I had a phone conversation with 3 young, I think they were young, people who are like school community resource, and they just started it beginning of November. So the local pastor made the introduction to the 3 elementary schools in the Dundalk area. But I was wondering, I really hadn't heard about this program before, wasn't aware that this was started. If you could tell us a little bit more about.
So if I hear it correctly, we have community schools. So a part of our blueprint is to really, and the whole concept is that our schools are not on this island. You know, the schools are situated in communities, and there are things happening in the community that will impact the school. And so we started to branch out to have more community schools and reaching out to the local businesses in terms of food, shelter, sometimes medical, sometimes housing, all that to help the parents and to help the students. So it sounds like this is the continuation of our expansion of community schools. This year we have about 22, and they're situated east and west zones. So it sounds like that's a part of what the outreach to you was all about. But that's all. It's a great opportunity because, again, the schools are a part of those communities, and we have to extend and offer, because sometimes it's more than just the teaching and learning that we have to deal with. So that's probably what you're getting the calls about.
Is there a central coordinator?
Yes, each school has one, so that's probably why several folks are calling you to try to just build that partnership.
Trying to connect with the central office.
Yes, so that would be Kim Ferguson, and I don't have her contact information, but Kim Ferguson. But I wrote down the company, so I'll make sure somebody somehow will connect. Okay. Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Mike Boyce with Creative Consulting. My work is leadership development and innovation development. I've been around teachers for a lot of years, and I hear three things from that. I just comment on what Baltimore is doing for one of them. One is protection from principals. One is protection from parents. And the third is we're constantly changing programs and curriculums, and it's impossible to keep up with all those changes. Could you tell us what you're doing to help protect your teachers from parents who are demanding, offensive, and just ruling the roost of the schools? So I'd love to hear from you.
So, well, thank you for that question. That has been a problem for many years. So what we have done is say to our leaders, the first step when there's a problem, we say to the staff, manage, try to have that conversation. But our staff members are keen enough and our leaders are keen enough that sometimes these are years of problems. They would say, parent X has been this way, so therefore, whenever there's a meeting, wherever there's a conversation, there's that support. So that teacher is not going into that blindly. And the same thing I have to say with our principals, because sometimes there are attacks on our principals. And so they don't go into certain settings by themselves. They have a supervisor. And then there are times where we have to say, you will not have any more contact with this parent. Again, 33 years of experience got me to say this. There's a point where we will say, no more contact. Your contact will be limited if your child is in a crisis. But we're not going to have, this is what's happening nationally. You go to school board meetings and you see what's happening, just the freedom to say whatever you want to say, and the attacks. So what we said, and I meet with the unions monthly, and then I meet with them one-on-one, and we strategize. So staff members shouldn't feel that they're by themselves. They shouldn't feel that they're covered and uncovered. We had a situation at a board meeting just the other day, and I said, well, let's get legal involved because we're about to ban somebody from all of our schools. So there is protection. There's protection. But I can't stop some of these nasty comments, the aggression. But we can set it up where we have support. But if it gets to a point where we've done everything that we have done and it's documented, then we can say no more contact unless the child is in crisis, and then we'll work with somebody else who's on the emergency card. And so I will constantly say that every staff member has a support, a mentor, whether it's a colleague, whether it's a supervisor, they have their union, and that's what they're there for, to help us strategize so folks don't feel that they're out there by themselves and dealing with some challenging circumstances like that. So this is kind of the first I'm hearing about principal to teacher conversation, but it's the same thing. Everybody has their advocacy group, and if there's a problem, our team will come together and help problem solve. And we've done that multiple times. And I hate to get to that point where we say, you can't come back on our property, but we have to do that for the safety of everybody. Yes, ma'am.
I'm so glad you asked that first, because I was actually going to commend and you came into the system with letting teachers know that they can be heard and that people are listening to them, and that we have had an issue with being overwhelmed and COVID, and even day off was celebrated at Randallstown High School as if it was a holiday. And we have a new principal now. What we have always wanted and what we feel is happening now is that we're being heard that we're human, and that there are some people that felt that COVID missed every teacher and just only hit a student.
Right.
And that we got to the point where when you came in and said, okay, wait a minute, these teachers are going through something. Everything you put there on the board can't be possible unless you have healthy teachers.
Yeah.
And when we're healthy, and when I see what you're working on with that health, and like I said, we have a new principal now that I believe is totally open and hearing everything. And for the first time, we're around, and his demeanor and his openness to us. And it's not flashy. It's a calmness of saying, I'm hearing what you're doing.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
need to relax.
Yeah.
And we need to tell teachers, he's telling teachers, it's going to be okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is an individual who used to be a previous assistant principal, who's now our principal.
Right.
Because he wanted to be at this school.
Right.
He wants to be there.
Yeah.
So I commend your administration for looking at us and saying, yes.
Yeah.
We
Yeah. Well, and thank you for that. It's building trust and building relationships. You know, my experience is that this us against them mentality will never work. And there's that culture that I kind of walked into. And so I'm not here trying to fight anybody. We're trying to work together. And I will always say the best thing is the multiple IQs, folks coming together and problem solving, because it takes a variety of folks to help us problem solve and solve issues from different lenses, different perspectives. But it's building that trust. It's really rebuilding. And I go back to that slide. It's circular. Because healing, recovery, it's constantly going back and rebuilding. Maybe we missed something, let's circle back. Maybe we put something out there, it didn't work. And we've done that. We put something out there, oh, that's not working. Let's scale back, let's come up with something else based on the feedback that we're hearing. So again, that's just rebuilding the trust. And I appreciate that. And Mike Jones is doing a wonderful job over there at Randallstown. Yeah. I don't know. How long do I have? Okay. Yeah.
In your position, you will undoubtedly invite a ton of criticism like that. But I can't imagine a single person who would want to trade places with you.
We could do a shadow day if you want, you know. Hey, that might be a good idea.
So building upon what you just said, my question is, how could we support the school system?
Yeah.
How can the community, whether it's parents or business leaders, whether it's you guys or our nearest school, how can the community support?
So I'm going to share something I shared last night. Thank you for that question. So I was meeting with the GT Citizen Advisory Group, and we were just talking, and they said, thank you for listening to us. Thank you for following up. Thank you for this program. And I said, do this for me. Put it in writing. Put it in writing. Come to a board meeting. Sign up for a board meeting. Say some of these things publicly, because that's what's missing. They look at me, but Dr. Williams is doing this, he's not doing this, the criticism, and it's all my colleagues. I meet weekly with my colleagues in the state of Maryland and across the nation. You're seeing superintendents leave. That's on the rise. You have to think, why is that? Why is that? It's the attacks, it's the personal attacks. We need the voices from the people to say, well, it's not perfect, but they've accomplished this, or they allowed us to do this. That's what I need from everyone in this room. To the board, to the county council, to all of our elected officials. That will be helpful. Your voice matters. Because who they hear from constantly is the 10%, I won't even say 10%, the 1%. If you watch our board meetings, you see the same folks show up every time. So your voice matters. To say, I know they're working hard. This is what we've accomplished with our partnership. That's what I need. I don't need a raise. I don't need extra security. I don't need any of that. I just need the voices of the people to share with elected officials about what's happening, because that's what's missing. So I said that last night. I appreciate that. It's good to hear that the teams are working together, but I need that voice outside of this meeting. And they said, Dr. Williams, for you, we're going to do it. Put it in writing, come to a board meeting, sign up and speak. That's what's missing. That's really what's missing. So I appreciate that question. Yes, sir.
Good morning. My name
Good morning.
is Kevin. I'm the manager of outreach and youth for Baltimore County government. Over the past 3 years, we've really been trying to expand our youth employment program with
Well, let's address the obstacles. I don't know the obstacles. I don't know. We've had some movement in staff. And remember, I'm in the midst of a reorganization. I did this, thanks to the county executive, we did this efficiency review. And we're in this midst of a reorganization. So if you're experiencing some challenges, some obstacles, I need to know, they need to know, our chief of staff needs to know on how to address that. You know, I think I want to go back to the partnership, the community engagement piece. It seems that this is starting to be a little bit of a theme, obstacles to try to get into Baltimore County Public Schools. That's not what I'm about. That's anti my strategic plan. So if you're experiencing some, we need to know. And you need to say where it's coming from. Yeah, right. We won't do it here. We won't do it here. You know, I will say the staff is working hard, but I'm not Baltimore County. I didn't grow up in Baltimore County. My lens is completely different. So I always come in and say, well, why are we doing this? And more than likely, it's, well, we've always done this. Okay, now what kind of results? Go back to what kind of results are we getting? Okay, so let's do something differently. And so I started that momentum my first year, then the pandemic hit. We couldn't do it all last year. It was just what we were dealing with. But now that we're back, I would encourage you to say, let's look at those obstacles and see what's getting in the way. Why can't we expand? So, yeah, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So my name is Jennifer Stein. I'm the executive director for CASA of Baltimore County. It's court-appointed special advocates, so we work with children in foster care.
Yes.
So a whole lot. I loved it. It sounds like you know who we are, which
Yes,
is great.
yes.
So I'd also love to talk to you, Kevin. But I don't really have a question for you. I was trying to think of a way to frame it as a question, but more an presentation or offer of partnership, because the things that you were talking about before, the children who are moving, the children who are having the issues at home that are then being seen in the schools, all of those are seen in foster care. Foster care is truly the intersection of all of the other things. And our kids have suffered with everybody else, and to some extent more than others during the pandemic, because they don't necessarily have the supports at home or the resources or whatever else that have allowed some people to be successful during this. So again, I'm sort of just putting out an offer for partnership, because I truly think that the more that we can work together with the school system, and we are the only organization that does what we do in Baltimore County. And so I would love to be able to, I don't know if it's you personally or if there's someone else that I can be directed to, but I really truly think that the supports that our volunteers can give to the students, I mean, statistically it shows that they do better in school and better, outcomes later on in life as well. So
So the direct person will be Michael Zarchin. And if you have a card, we can make sure we connect. And he's over the counseling and student services, all of that. And then there's some folks under him, but yeah, that would be direct. So I'm familiar with that because we've had some briefings. I had some briefings with his team. So I'm sure there might be a connection, but let's just make sure the two of you connect.
okay,
Yeah,
thank you very
yeah,
much.
thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I'm with the Martin Museum at Martin State Airport in Little River.
Yes.
And we've recently really started stretching our educational efforts with the community. We've got two different things in the vat working right now. One of them, early on, about the time the pandemic started, a couple of people developed a little kit they called an airplane design kit. And what
Wow.
to make it available, it wasn't all that expensive, but we got a small grant from the Rotary Club to make this available free to Title I schools in the area.
Okay.
We've been unable to find people to talk to take free educational materials. So we don't know we don't know how to get into the system to get this.
Oh, the common thread, see the common thread? Michelle Stansberry is our Title I supervisor. So I don't know what the challenges may be. And I'm sure you, like, I can't figure it out either. But I think, Ms. Charlie Green, we may have to go back to our team and say, this is what we've learned from coming to the meeting this morning. There's some obstacles that we got to figure out why.
The other thing we're working on is more at the other end, at the high school and young adult level. There's going to be a huge demand, not only for pilots, but for aircraft mechanics.
Yeah.
And we would really like to partner with someone and start
Yeah.
a mechanics school. Of course, we think Martin State Airport would be good. And we'd love to be able to find somebody to work with, to partner with on how we can work together to make this happen.
Yeah. So I would offer Michael Grubbs, again, we've been talking about expanding, so that's good to know as well. I think what we'll do is probably give out a list of contact individuals. So maybe Mildred, as we're hearing, you all have it? You got it? You got it? Okay. Okay, got it. Okay. So Title I, youth partnerships, EAP. So there's several things. What we have, fact. We just redeveloped our staff directory. So the feedback from the principals and staff, like, if I want to call someone, who do I call? I said, well, it's right. We thought it was a convenient way, but I guess to this point, we now have a directory. Here's the content or subject area. Here's the contact person. Here's the name, the email, and phone number. So maybe we'll work on that. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Hi. Sticking with museums, I'm Aaron Lippincott, Education Director for the Fire Museum of Maryland, just up the road.
Yep.
And a little bit of a lesser question, I suppose, but I was just curious, with the Education Department, we're already a wonderful partner with BCPS, and I just was wondering, I haven't actually heard anything about the ideas or plans for field trips is one of our lifeblood, field trips kind of going forward. We have a virtual program that does very well. Lots of schools participate. We're very happy with it, but nothing really beats going out on a field trip.
Yeah.
I just wasn't sure.
Well, due to all the mitigation strategies, we've actually lessened some of our field trips at this point, even for staff, like for traveling for professional development. But we're about to open up, as we're monitoring, and so just stay tuned to more opportunities for that. So. It's just a little bit hard now with everything that's going on. So we'll get back to some more activities, field trips and all. Okay.
All right. Final question.
Final questions? Okay.
Time is precious.
Yeah, so good morning. My name is Jennifer White. I'm an Owensville Newtown resident, and I'm also a candidate for state delegate in District 10. But I really care about mental health, and I really did appreciate your emphasis on recovery, building, and healing. And so knowing that the trauma that everyone has experienced, could you expound a little bit more about the in-school therapy or the in-school mental health supports and other opportunities for especially community partners to help kind of also fill those gaps when it comes to healing and mental health?
Yeah, so thank you for that. We have increased our number of social workers and psychologists and counselors. We're going to do it again. I don't know if we'll ever get to the national average or ratio, but we're working really hard to get to that. I think it's 1 to 250. But what we have done is that team has actually gone out and, in spite of the mitigation strategies and COVID, we've actually done some home visits. Now, we have to set that up carefully, sometimes meeting in certain locations, but the outreach, last year, no, in 2020, we had to really look at our kids that were disengaged. So we could tell who was online and we could tell who wasn't. And I was more concerned about both, but definitely those who were. So we actually narrowed it down to names, to know names and faces. And so that team, the student services team, will go out and do home visits, set up partnerships with local communities. Our counselors are involved, and the outreach. I don't have all that they do in front of me, but we can definitely get all that work that they're doing and the partnership. But that's going to be big for many of our communities. You named a community that I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about the Essex community and parts of Dundalk, concerned about the Woodlawn community. I can actually go around the whole county, just what's happening in the community and how that's impacting our students. So our support services team, Kim Ferguson, does a nice job. We can probably connect you two just to make sure that she can provide all the details and even offer some additional partnership. We had one story. I think I'll close on this one story because it's a good story. I mentioned the graduation. We were at Towson, the CQ arena, and I saw this one graduate come in, and I said to Kim, I said, because I did all the graduations. I don't know if I'll do that again, but I did all the graduations. And I saw this one graduate who came in before everybody else. And I said, so what's her story, Kim? Kim pulled me aside. She said, her parents disowned her because she has a baby, and they see the little 2-year-old is standing right next to her. And I said, I'm glad she's here at graduation. She said, Kim said, Dr. Williams, we have a staff member to hold the baby because the girl was determined to walk across that stage. And so because of the outreach, they were able to get the girl to graduate. She was going to college, I want to say in Alabama. We actually found funds to buy the plane ticket because the parent wouldn't do it, and we flew her. So we did some things, probably broke so many rules, but we did some things because we knew the circumstances, and that day they had a package for the kid, for the little 2-year-old, for the student, and she just cried after she walked across that stage. And so at the end of the day, of all that's going on, to see that, it was the motivator that said, this is why we do what we do. If we can save one, we can save thousands. So we'll connect you and Kim on that one. All right. Brent has been pacing here saying, Dr. Williams, shut it down.
I'm thankful for your time. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
Please give him a round of applause.
I'll run on to my next.
Okay. I know he has something else to do, but I want to give a really, really big shout out. Thank you for coming out once again. This is the type of conversations that we're talking about where we're bringing the community to the forefront, allowing decision makers to actually engage with their constituents. And I think I haven't seen a more vibrant conversation happening in the open forum and people feeling really comfortable with that. And I think you definitely said that. So as a new parent, as I told your staff member, last time you were here, I didn't have kids. Now I got 2 of them, so your words hold a little bit more weight. And as a parent, I'm really thankful that you're actually leading our system. I know you care about everything that you're doing, so continue all the great work. Please give it a round. We'll be sending out that contact list from his staff for all attendees. If you want to get a transfer of the actual speech, we'll actually send it out to any attendees also. But we got some fun stuff here. We have these Southwest Airline tickets to give away, and I need some little help with this also. So let me come over here, Deborah. You didn't put yours in here? All right. I'm gonna allow my photographer. Can you help me out? Pull some of these. Did you put your business card in? All right, perfect. Did you put your business card in there? Okay, I only need about 15 minutes. All right. Our first winner is, okay. I got some more. All right. I gotta pull again. All right, I got some more. Our first winner is Alan Hirsch from Hirsch Advisors. I'm not sure. I think he might have left. You gotta be here to win. I'm sorry. You gotta be here to win. All right, next person is Robin McGregor from One Screen. How do I have you? All right, I got 5. All right, you stand right over here. I need your help. You gotta pull the next winner. You gotta pass the good luck on.
I know.
There we are. All right, she pulled out 2, so we're gonna have 2 winners. I got Earl Jefferson. There we go. From Teal's program. And he's a first-time attendee, so thank you for coming out. Second winner is Joe Harsel. Joe Harsel from AIG. I don't know how you guys did it.
You're welcome.
All right, I need you to pick another winner. I got 2 more. There we are. Mike Turner. Got some young folks in here. We got some first-time winners. All right, Mike, you got to pick the last winner. Don't pick a colleague. Ashley Yeager. Thank you once again. They're all of our Southwest winners. Southwest gives away round-trip airfare at each one of our events, so definitely come out to that. We'll be doing this again next month. As I said, our meeting will be changing from Thursday. It'll be on January 11th. First day before the legislative session, we have the VP from Government Affairs coming out. He's going to give us a legislative preview. If you're interested in what's happening downstate and it has an effect on what happens upstate, that's where funding and all that other stuff like that comes along. It's definitely going to be really, really interesting, so definitely come out to that. And we have our mega networking upcoming in the next 2 months also, so you'll get some more information about that in the next upcoming weeks. Have a great holiday season. Have a great Hanukkah. I want to have everyone here in January, and have a great holiday. Thank you. We're going to get a picture with all